Good evening, everybody, and just to let you know, we are live streaming onto YouTube for members of the public who hopefully are interested in what we are doing tonight in the Employment Committee. And thank you for being here. Before I start, a wholehearted happy birthday to Nikki McLaughlin, who loves us so much. She's here on her birthday, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Right, apologies for absence, please.
So we've had apologies from Councillor Howe. Councillor John Currell, Councillor Andy Mercer was supposed to be here subbing, so okay. He's yet to come. And Councillor Peter McEwen, and I'm sorry, I don't know who you are.
Matt Keane subbing for Peter McEwen.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's no information on Sarah Tubbs or Councillor Waters? Perhaps they're on their way. Okay, thank you very much. Are there any declarations of interest from anybody? No. If we can turn to the minutes. There's always one. To the minutes of the meeting held on the 20th of March. I wasn't there, so could I have possibly somebody who was there?
I was there, so I don't mind
you were there.
Proposing them as a true record.
If you wouldn't mind proposing them, and is there a seconder, please? Who was here? I doubt it. No. Okay, then. Just need a seconder. I'll second it. That's fine. Okay. All in favour of the minutes? SR. Thank you. That's fine. Right. We're here this evening to start the process to select for the appointment for Head of Paid Services, our Chief Executive. And as such, we need to undertake a bit of work as a committee. So if I may hand over to Nikki, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, thank you. So the report we're bringing to you tonight is we would like to ask the Employment Committee to establish a subcommittee to allow us to undertake the recruitment and selection process for the role of Head of Paid Service / Chief Executive. As you will all be aware, our previous Chief Executive left in June, and we've had an interim Chief Executive appointed until such time that we can recruit to a permanent position. Obviously, this is a really important role for the authority, so we do want to make sure that the recruitment process is comprehensive and inclusive and really allow us to undertake a thorough process to get the best candidate. So in terms of what we would like to ask the committee is that you do establish the subcommittee, which would undertake the process. So there's a number of recommendations. I'll just quickly run through them, but I will obviously give some background as well to the process and how things will progress should you be happy with that. So what we're asking, what we're recommending to the Employment Committee is that you establish a politically balanced subcommittee. So this does need to be politically balanced in line with the Constitution. So that would be 6 members, elected members, who would interview and recommend the appointment to Council. So in terms for that to be politically balanced, what we would recommend is that would be 4 Conservative members, 1 Labour member and 1 Green Alliance member. We would ask that you delegate authority to the Assistant Director of HR, which is Marie, in order to consult in consultation with members of the established subcommittee to be able to long list and shortlist suitably qualified applicants. We would recommend that you delegate authority to the established subcommittee to make the conditional offer to the most suitable candidate. Obviously, this would be subject to full council approval, and to recommend to the council, to full council, the approval of the most suitable candidate. We also would ask that you agree that we can undertake a number of stakeholder panels in the process. We would suggest member stakeholder panel, leadership panel, partner stakeholder panel, employee stakeholder group and children and young people's panel. And I do have a little bit more information that I can go into about those panels and when they would take place. And we would ask that you note that the assessment process will include some psychometric testings, a technical interview, and also a leadership scenario. So I'll go through a little bit more in detail of that process, but hopefully you'll agree that that it is a comprehensive and thorough process. So there is an alternative to setting up the subcommittee, and that would be for this committee to undertake those interviews. However, we do feel that that wouldn't allow such a thorough and comprehensive process, and it would be better for it to be a smaller and more focused group that undertook those interviews. So that would be our reason for that recommendation. So I'll just a little bit of background, I guess. As you're aware, full council did agree in March that we could undertake this recruitment process for the role of the permanent chief executive for the council. So we have selected a recruitment partner to work with, and that partner is Penna. So they have already been selected. We went through obviously a procurement process in order to do that, Penna will be looking to start the campaign and the advert in September. So the beginning of September is when the actual advert would go out. So under the Constitution, the Employment Committee does have the authority to establish the subcommittee. As mentioned, it does need to be politically balanced because it is a formal it would be a formal meeting, so therefore does need to follow the same process. So yes, just a little bit more on the process. So as I say, we're working with Penna to help us in this recruitment. We'll be looking to put the national advert out for around about a period of 4 weeks. During that time, Penna will also be contacting their networks and undertaking a headhunting exercise for us. Once the advert has closed, there would be a long listing meeting which would be undertaken by the subcommittee if that is approved, and that would take place around about the 17th of October is when we're looking for that to happen. There would then be some technical interviews undertaken with those people that were longlisted, and that we would select a suitable chief executive of a different authority who could provide that technical expertise, and Penna would undertake those with that chief executive. We'd then be looking to do a shortlisting meeting. Again, would be around about the 7th of November, and then we would obviously shortlist from the list of the long listing, and then everybody who was shortlisted would undergo psychometric testing, which would then form part of that process for us. So the first day of interviews we would be looking to hold on the 21st of November, and this is when the actual partner panels would take place. So the candidates would undertake a series of those panels, and that information would be gathered, and then what we would look to do is for this subcommittee to make a determination at the end of that day, following that feedback as to who they wanted to take forward to the final interview that they would then interview. And the final interview would likely take place on the 22nd of November to be held face-to-face, more than likely to be here in the Cube. So if you do approve the subcommittees, we would obviously need to make sure that whoever was on that panel was available for those dates, but I will share those dates once we ask for nominations as well. So just a little bit more information about the panels for you. So we would be looking to hold a member stakeholder panel. So this would be other members, not those that would be on the final panel, but open it up to the wider members. We probably would recommend 6 to 8 members in total, so that it was you would want it to be quite a focused group and not too large. So 6 to 8 ideally, but happy to take recommendations on that. And we would suggest it would have a similar political balance, just to ensure that that was following the same format. We would then hold a leadership panel. So this would be members of our corporate leadership network. So this is a mixture of directors and assistant directors. And again, we would ask for nominations for people to be part of that panel. The stakeholder panel will involve members from health, from police, from education, from our community faith groups, from our voluntary and business sectors. And we've already started to gather some names as to people who could be on those panels. We would look to hold an employee stakeholder group, and that would include some of our trade union colleagues. And finally, we would have a children and young people's panel. So quite a few panels for the candidates to get through on that day. So I think that probably is the process. I'm happy to take any questions or comments at this point.
Thank you very much, Nikki. I'm very, very pleased, and I've expressed that view already to Nikki, to see that we have an employee panel in there, as well as the reflection of youth panel. It is all very well appointing a new chief executive, but that new chief executive will have to lead huge amount of employees, and it's very important to have their views as well. So are there any questions, Matt?
Yeah, how often would the subcommittee have to meet? And I noticed that both Labour and the Greens have only got one person each on that one. Would it be possible if we could have named substitutes in there? Because if we can't attend that one, then it's going to be impossible for the opposition to be represented.
I understand where you're coming from, but if you think if the work has been done by a particular person and then without any disrespect to that person suddenly not being there, and that would apply to anybody from any of the representation, what is the normal, Marie?
Yes, I think for consistency, because what we will plan to do is give out those dates. Clearly, if there's a sickness or an illness that's unavoidable, we'd have to work with that. But ideally, we're going to give plenty of warning, so ideally it should be. So it's fine to have a substitute in case of, illness or something that's completely unavoidable. But yeah, ideally we'd want that same consistency from long listing to short listing to actually, to taking out.
If it helps in any way, Matt, what I'm hoping for, that obviously the dates, that they be circulated amongst us. So perhaps you want to look at the dates before commitments are being made from the Labour group and the Green Alliance, yes.
Yeah, it was just to make sure that if someone is ill on the day, I would hate for members of the opposition not to be having any input on that. So that's why I'd like to be able to have a substitute. But the person that is from the Labour group will be attending all of them meetings. We
very much value the input from our oppositions. That goes without saying, because it is a chief executive who will be representing everybody and who will be working with everybody. Yes, Marie.
Yeah, so that you're clear on what would need to be attended as well. Sorry. So there's a long listing and a short listed meeting, which are usually about an hour and a half, usually done over a Teams meeting. Then there's 2 days of interviews, but we only need, we don't need the subcommittee for the whole day of the first interview, but what we probably would ask is that they're available at the end of the day so that they can get the feedback, and then they would be needed for the whole day of the interviews as well. So again, we can happily, when we ask for nominations, we'll put out the dates and the times so that everybody's really clear. Ideally, yes, we want someone who can commit to all of them, but absolutely, we normally ask for a substitute because actually this doesn't start till October, so it could well be that something happens in then time as well, but ideally somebody should be there for the whole process, unless it's absolutely unavoidable, of course.
John Paul.
If this might help a little bit, a similar situation happened with me with the appointment of the Director of Public Health. Unfortunately, I had a job interview when it came to the last sort of actual interview, and I didn't go through it forward, and we had to have a substitute. So it is achievable, yet I was involved with the shortlisting process in itself. So I think the officers, by the sound of it, will get things in hand in regards to the dates and be able to move forward quite proactively with those dates. I don't have a problem with it at all, Chair.
Okay. Any other comments from anybody? No? Can we first of all establish that you're all in favour of us establishing the sub-panel?
Happy to propose.
Thank you. Anybody to second that? Macaulay, yeah? Okay, all in favour of that? That's lovely, that's carried. Thank you. So, as we have taken that decision, you will have to have the names, and I think if we can first of all look at the dates, and if they can then be circulated. I have got a contingent for the Conservative group, and to ensure that everybody is reflected in there who wishes or who wanted to be on the panel. But it leaves the Labour group and the Green Alliance until the dates are met.
Yeah, from the Labour group it will be myself, but okay. I'll obviously send the dates through. If there is any problems with that, we will make allocations and change it. But
and there's always, if something happens, Matt, We've had that in the past. We can always brief you afterwards, as if you can't make the meeting. I mean, we would like you to be there. And I know sometimes it's difficult, but that's brilliant. And if we can reach out to the Green Alliance.
Yes, I will. I'll get in touch with the leader of the Green Alliance group and request a nomination.
Right, thank you. That's lovely. And for the Conservative group, it will be myself. I will be joined by Helen Howell. I have agreed that Jason Smithers can be on that panel as well. And as we are not restricted by the panel, by the members of the panel, of the Employment Committee, we've reached out to Russell Roberts, who's very experienced as well, and he has agreed. If anybody has got a problem with that, then please let me know after the meeting. Thank you. I think there isn't really, you've seen the profile role for the Chief Executive, you've seen the salary, which I've been assured is within the normal scale for our council or for any of the councils, and I truly hope that we will have encouraging applications for that, and I have all faith in our HR area to find the best possible chief executive we can find, and somebody who will have the exciting task to lead this council into the next phase. Marie.
Yeah, just to add to that, so the salary is in accordance to our published pay policy. So we already have that published, and a teaser or a taster, sometimes they call it, has gone out. Some of you may have seen that, just to sort of whip up interest. And actually the signs initially have been really encouraging. Great. So we've had quite a good and positive response to that. So we are very hopeful that we will have some good candidates to interview.
That's very encouraging to hear, and I think once the proper advert is in with Penna, and I think there will be hopefully quite some substantial interest. Okay, so are there any other questions anybody has relating to this report?
I've just got one question. Sorry, yes. Madam Chair. So your proposal is to have 4 people on the panel who are not on this employment committee. Is that
sorry?
Your proposal with Councillor Howell and Councillor Smithers and Councillor Roberts and yourself is not to have any representatives from this employment committee on that panel.
In this committee as well, and Councillor Howell.
In addition to?
No, it is 4 + 1 + 1, so 6 are the maximum.
Right.
And it is in my gift to agree whether the leader of the council can actually do that and be on this, and I think it is actually quite important that he is. Okay. And the deputy leader, by coincidence, is a member of the employment committee and has been for quite some time. We have chosen Russell because he has got many years of experience in that, and having been the leader of a large previous council as well, to bring that to the table. So that is our reason. If anybody has got a problem with that, then please let me know afterwards and we can have a discussion about it.
Thank you.
Right, so with that, I don't think there's anything we can add. I would refer you then to item 3, to the recommendation in 3.1. So first of all, we have already voted that we will establish the politically balanced subcommittee consisting of 6 members to interview and recommend the appointment of the chief executive to the council. We have agreed it is 4 + 1 + 1. and we delegate the authority to the Assistant Director of Human Resources in consultation with members of the established subcommittee to longlist and shortlist suitably qualified applicants. And we also delegate the authority to the established subcommittee to make a conditional offer and determine particulars such as remuneration to the most suitable candidate subject to the full council approval, and recommend that the full council approve the appointment of the most suitable candidate as the chief executive of NNC, and agree that the following stakeholder panels will be established to provide feedback: the member stakeholder panel, the leadership panel, oops, I've lost it, 10, 11, oops, where is it, sorry, partnership stakeholder panel comprising partners from health, police, education, community faith groups in the voluntary and business sectors, employee stakeholder group comprising the employees selected from each directorate and including trade unions, and children and young people panel, and F, finally, to note the assessment process will include psychometric test, technical interview, and leadership scenario to inform the subcommittee. I think that in total is all we are recommending. The final decision, once the panel has agreed to a shortlisted finalist, and obviously with the conditional offer, the full council has got the final say, and obviously I would think that perhaps as time goes by we will probably see some new people observing our council suddenly in wanting to see what we actually do. So that's hopefully an encouragement to them. With that, I don't have any other business, and oh, sorry. Yes, sorry.
I just wonder, given today that the council has recognised care experienced people as a protected characteristic, I don't know if there's still opportunity, but it would be wonderful to be able to reflect in our recruitment process. People can choose to disclose or not disclose, but wouldn't it be wonderful if we were to ask the question on application? We are a council that recognises care experienced people as a protected characteristic. Are you part of this cohort? And consider that when long-listing and shortlisting, because wouldn't it be wonderful as our first act as a council to really make meaningful change in that area? We might not get anyone. People might choose not to disclose, but it's still part of the positive action towards looking for protected characteristics.
I think it's a very good idea, and thank you very much for that. And if we are able to put that into our application form or application process, that would be superb. Great. Thank you very much. If nobody's got any other questions, any other comments, then at 19:24 I close the meeting. Thank you very much for being here, and have a happy birthday. Thank you. Good night.